Let's see, I got everything. All right, we are live.
Hey, everybody.
I think you don't like when I say that.
I don't.
Anyway, let's see. Hey, Reed, thanks for joining. Royal Queenie, Mona. I have Facebook over here. I don't see anybody on Facebook yet. YouTube, I really can't even tell the difference. But thanks for joining. I'll wait a few minutes, give a few more people a chance to join us.
How's everybody this evening? Everybody staying corona free?
Right. Scary out there.
Abiding by the 6 foot distant rule. A lot of us quarantine. Let's be healthy,
right.
people.
Ready?
Yeah, always ready.
All right. I feel like I'm so close to the camera. I am Danielle Steele Williams, founder of For the Lives of Prison Wives and author of Prayers of a Prison Wife, 30 Prayers to Pray for Your Incarcerated Husband. And yes, it says husband, but I've gotten reviews and spoken with people that say it has helped their incarcerated loved ones and even those that are not incarcerated. So that's the book. It can be found on Amazon, as well as my store link that I'll drop in the comments when we're finished with this live. Okay, and I have with me my husband, my husband, Keith Williams, and Keith served 14 and a half year sentence, and we made it through that 14 and a half year. Actually, his sentence was 22 and a half years, and he served 14 and a half. And I say we because I did time on the outside, as well as my family. All right. So again, as Keith was just talking about, I know we are quarantined and we're thinking about your loved ones that are incarcerated. Our prayers are with them. Thoughts and prayers are with them always. And, if you're watching, just drop some hearts in the comments for your loved one. Let them know you're thinking about them. I know they can't see it, but at least, you're here with us in spirit.
Some of them can see it.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Also, if you happen to miss this live video, drop replay in the comments. If you should see it after this video ends, drop replay in the comments and share the video. Because once again, like we said before, 1 out of 2 people have been impacted by incarceration. So we don't know, who's on your timeline that may have been there, may have someone in there, unfortunately may be on their way. So, it's just what it is. So yeah, share the video. All right, so last week we had some questions in the comment, and I thought one very good question that Wendy asked was how to start talking to your loved one about letting God into his or her life. And yes, we're for the life of prison wives, but as I said, this is for anybody that's incarcerated. Again, the question was how to start talking to your loved one about letting the Lord into his life was Wendy's question. All right, so I'll start that off. And I think for us in our experience, we are our past experiences. So this question made me kind of just reflect back on where I came from, where my husband came from, what was our journey individually with God. Because when you first meet the person that you're into, that's not typically the first question that you ask. I mean, even if you do ask it, the person gonna be up front right there with you, because you're putting up a facade in the beginning a lot of times. But yeah, that's not the first question that comes up or comes to mind. So with me, we grew up going to church, me and my sister, my family. I grew up going to church, going to Sunday school. But one thing, even through all my years of church, I never actually had a relationship with God. And I think that's important. I'm gonna stop right there and ask you, Keith, with your childhood, how did you think, were you all into church? Did you grow up going to church, or what was your past experience with church? or God, shall I say?
Well, my childhood, I was brought up in a Christian home. I had a 2-parent home. We used to attend church on a regular. I mean, throughout the weekday, the weekend, children's choir. It was to the point that when my parents got divorced when I was very young, the age was like 6, that we kind of pulled away from the church. It was more so, I wouldn't say because my father didn't have the faith. My father raised me. I wouldn't say it wasn't that he didn't have the faith. It was just that with his career at the time, his time consumption wasn't really able to fit church in a lot because he traveled a lot. So, I just remember, Cornerstone Missionary Baptist Church, Pastor Reverend Trotman, in the Baptist church, a lot of hollering, a lot of dancing, a lot of praising, and I remember that just like it was yesterday. And I also remember up to the point where we weren't really going to church anymore. And basically it was because my folks weren't together anymore. And like I said, my father, career-wise, he was always traveling, in and out. And, usually when he was home, it was time for him to rest up because he was going to have to do it again the following week. So that was kind of like my church upbringing. But I was in there, hallelujah, praising God, singing, worshiping.
So like he said, and yours was earlier. Your I guess want to say separation kind of from church was earlier because your parents got divorced when you were age 6.
Yes, they did.
All right. So and would you say that you actually had a relationship with God?
Well, I mean, I would say more so I was young. So,
right.
When you're that age, you don't really know what type of relationship you have with God or whatnot. It's a God, but you really know what your parents tell you.
Right.
It's kind of like your parents tell you, hey, go take out the trash, and you do what they tell you to do. So when they say, hey, get ready to go to church, you do what they do. So
you're right.
That was just one of the moments.
That's just what you do. Because that's even like our kids now. Can I sit there and tell you that they have a relationship with God? Mm-mm. They know we go to church. They know about God. They know what we tell them. But I don't know their actual, do you have a relationship? Some people, some people experience God earlier than others in their life.
I think those are more so ones that I would call them.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like that guy we watched on Facebook Live the other day who was preaching out in front of the convenience store. It was like
because I was amazed that. Oh, wait, he just graduated from high school. And he got all this spiritual wisdom. Okay.
Yes, and you all should have heard the things that he said. Have not heard it yet, but this young man was very, very anointed by God because the things he said were factual, it was true, and it was something that everyone in this audience can actually listen to and be like, man, he is amazing.
Okay, Instagram, I think it is. You saying you cannot hear? Hold on, just one moment. Can you hear us now? If you can hear us, drop a 1 in the comments.
And Queenie, don't worry, we're gonna be praying for Tyson for you. Just hold tight. Blessings, prayers go up, blessings come down.
All right, so yes, that kind of reminds me of the first time we met. You probably don't even remember. You wrote a letter, and the letter had God in it, and you said something about God sent something, and we had just met. But just to mention the God, I said, oh, okay, he believe in God. I ain't think about the relationship part because I didn't know about the relationship part, So
but you knew about the God part.
But I knew just, okay, as long as he know God, he good. That don't mean that. People can say they know God and no, they don't. So anyway, basically, you have to know your loved one's spiritual background. Where did they come from? All right. And so I talked about a consistent relationship with God. And as we continue with our relationship, right before Keith got arrested, we were going to premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you heard of the movie War Room or if you've seen the movie War Room. And there's a older lady, Miss Clara, that was kind of counseling the married couple. Well, I had my own counselor. I was the one that continued because my husband at the time didn't, he really didn't want to go. But once he did go, he enjoyed it and saw the benefits of it. You did, didn't you?
On you.
Yeah, you did. Stop playing. Anyway, because Dr. Phillips watching you. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we had we went to the counseling sessions, and it helped me at that time because he was not there, So I went through the counseling, and that's when I first learned about a relationship with God. That's who taught me, the roles of each partner, spiritual leader, protector, provider for the husband, and the nurturing prayer for the wife. Excuse me. So that's where I learned all of that, and that's where I think had things not happened in that order, I don't know where we would be like today, because I would have never formed that relationship not that early on. So I'm telling you that because that played a part in being there for my husband when he was in prison. Now, one thing that I did, because Wendy asked, how do you talk to your loved one? Well, if the person is not on your spiritual level, y'all aren't the same. Sometimes you're just not at the same place spiritually.
Not at the same time.
Thank you, not at the same time. And it's okay. You get frustrated with it. You get upset, because I had moments where I was mad and I was upset, like, I'm doing this praying, and I'm, certain actions that I'm wanting to see that I'm not seeing. And, and so what I started doing when he was in there was, well, since he's there, we're going to just use this time to grow together. And I would start sending him prayers, and he would respond, amen. I sent him a prayer every morning. Then I started mailing him stuff. And then it got to the point where that's all I was sending him. And I'm just bombarding him with prayers. And I'm bombarding him with, God. And what do you think happens when you constantly pressuring somebody or nagging somebody? And this is what I wanted for him, but he had to want it for himself. So when I'm pushing the prayers on him, guess what? He starts to shut down and pull away. You want to talk about it?
I mean, more so it's just like, a relationship with God is personal. So it's not a relationship that anyone on the outside can force you to do. It's a relationship that you grow on based on you and God. It's a personal relationship. I've always believed in that, but I believe there would always be a moment in time when it was time for me to actually have my relationship with him. The way that Danielle was pursuing me having a relationship with him kind of felt like she was nagging me. And after a certain amount of time, it kind of gets aggravating. You wake up in the morning, you expecting to, read some emails or, pertaining on you all, what's going on, this and that. And then it's all about a prayer and this and that, which are cool. Hey, man, I'm not going to ever say that again, the prayer is bad, but at the same token, this was like a repeated cycle. And it was just like, please, could you just fall back for a minute, because you don't know the things that I'm doing in here and the relationship I have with God, but the way that you're trying to, you forcing it on me, it just makes you pull back. A lot of people got to understand that people incarcerated, we had lost the hope. So when you had lost the hope, you lose your faith, and it takes cycles of different things that happen within your life for you to see that, okay, God is there for you to be able to get some hope back and then regain your faith. It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. You can keep saying that, okay, I need to leave him alone because he's not on the same page. No, he's not on the same page. He's just not on the same page as you are right now. Doesn't mean he's not going to get there. It just means that he hasn't got to that moment of his life. Just back up a little bit. You know what I mean? If you want somebody to get more into the spiritual aspect of a relationship, get more, form a better relationship with our Lord and Savior, okay, send them a Bible. Don't send them a regular Bible. Send them a Bible that makes them feel special. Send them one of those Bibles that's like leather case with his name up there and whatnot. Because just like right now, the Federal Bureau is on lockdown. This gives them opportunity to look at the book and be like, damn, I got this book. Okay, let me go ahead and open up and start reading a few pages. Because guys always go to the chapel and get daily breads, and within daily breads, you have different books of the Bible that they have for different days to read, and that may make him open it. And him reading one of those stories may make him continuously read the story and get more interested and get more in tune and focused and continue the process. You don't have to know the process because that's not your relationship. That's his relationship with God. Your relationship with God is totally separate. So you need to be out here focused on your relationship. You need to be praying. You need to be doing this. Don't worry about what he's doing because he has to do his part. That's what people fail to realize. Your relationship with God is your relationship with God. That's what's going to determine your works and whether or not you get into the heavenly gates when it's your time to go. And his relationship is the same. Let it manifest into what it has to be and don't you force it on them.
Yes. And that's what I learned. I was like, okay, if I continue to push and every time he calls, that's what I'm talking about. And every time I'm emailing, that's what we're talking about. And he's wanting to talk about other things. Then guess what? It's becoming frustrating for both of us because I'm upset with him because he ain't talking about what I want to hear. And he's upset with me because he don't want to talk about it. So I had to just bag back, like he said. But when you bag back, you don't stop praying. You continue to pray. And if he turns his back or he seems like he's shutting down, you pray harder because you don't know what God is doing. God is always at work. You're thinking he's not at work. But if you sit back long enough, then you'll see certain actions start to take place. And you're like, oh, okay, God is working. And just keep it to yourself. It's not I told you so. I've been praying and I see what's going on. No, just let it happen, and continue, like I said, just continue to pray and you see the change take place. Was there anything else on the prayer thing we talked about? Oh yeah. It was earlier. What was the conversation?
Oh, you don't remember?
No, I think no. You said the hope.
Yeah, hope, your faith.
Oh yeah. I know. Okay, I got it right here. What was your first experience? Because I know when you were in, was it Kentucky when you were going to church when you started? Yeah.
I mean, when I was in Kentucky. I was actually in this place called Inez, Kentucky, and it's in the mountains. Hope none of you all ever have to go there because there's nothing up there to do. And there's nothing up there to see. But I was in USP Big Sandy, and when I got there, I was mad at God. We're going to keep it 100, y'all, straight up. I was pissed off at God. I felt like I had did so much good in my life to get caught in a bad situation, and I just felt like I was thrown to the wolves. Okay, so when I got up there, I was frustrated. First United States penitentiary, first time doing a real prison bid. I was lost. So when I got up there, they were saying, they got the chapel, be going to church, this and that. But I ran to a couple of Muslim brothers, that were actually Nation of Islam. And they were like, hey, man, just come hear us out, man. Come to Juma on one Friday. So I used to go to Juma on a regular. But then after the process of going on a regular, I actually, started going to the Nation of Islam meetings and whatnot. And, I wouldn't necessarily say I was a complete Muslim or whatnot doing, I never took my shahada or anything of that nature. Just I was participating with the brotherhood. But after a certain amount of time, it just wasn't me. There's no specific reason. It just wasn't me. I don't know if it's from years of what I had already been raised as far as on my Christianity prior. It just didn't fit me. So I fell back. And I really stopped going at all for a minute, and it took years. And I got a cellmate of mine who actually used to go to school with Danielle named Maynard. And when I first met up with Maynard, it was ironic how we met. But we were in FCI Williamsburg in South Carolina. And this had to be about 2011. And he actually was my cellmate for like 3 years there. And he used to go to church all the time, and he was in a bad situation himself. And I used to just let him look at him going to church, And as I got to know him, he's a real good dude. He was a stand-up guy, he was going through the same hardships that I go through every day. It's times we're in the cell, we get to talk when we're on lockdowns or whatnot, and we get to grow with one another and understand each other as a man. And he used to go to church all the time. So I started going to the chapel up there. But when I started going to the chapel up there, I really didn't feel it. It was like, you go to chapel here, okay, you got a bunch of guys in here, they're a bunch of hypocrites because I see what they do in the yard. Then they come to church and they clap at tambourines and all that. And then the whole time we there, nobody's preaching, nobody's giving a sermon, nobody's giving the word, you know what I mean? It's just in there singing all day, So I backed up away from it again, and as things started progressing with my case or whatnot, I had made a promise to God. I say, hey, man, if you just make some things like this happen, I promise I'll come back to you. So he did that. And when he did it, I ended up going to my last prison. When I knew I was going to get out, I had got my sentence reduction, and I started fellowshipping at this institution's chapel. And when I went in the chapel, it was just like, it made me feel like I was home. Like, not home is home, but like as far as how church services go out here. And it was this chaplain, man. His name was Chaplain Douglas. He was a little small white guy. You know what I mean? I'm only 5'9", y'all. He had to be about 5'1". I can just put my arm around him right here, and his head's probably down here. But anyway, man, he was one of the most genuine administrators that I have met throughout my whole incarceration. And when he gave the word and the things he said, I always felt like he was directing it straight towards me. So I used to go there Sunday. I used to go there Wednesday. I used to go there Thursdays, just to go and hear the new things that he was talking about. But he also brought a lot of people from the outside, spiritual leaders from different churches around the community of that area at the specific prison I was in. And the messages always felt like it was for me. So Chaplain Davis brought me back to the centerfold as far as my Christianity. And I never got to see him before I left, but before any inmate leaves this facility that's a part of this Christian congregation or whatnot, they always let us come up and speak to the church body and give our thanks and whatnot and tell a little bit of our story. So when I went up there, Chaplain Douglas just happened to not be there. He was out of town on, I don't know if it was family business or whether it was BOP business or whatnot, but I told a lot of guys to get my message. And I shed a few tears in front of a bunch of guys in prison. But I shed it because I was overjoyed to see how far I had come in such a long period of time, but to just know how I progressed through that period. And I just wanted to let him know that he was the reason that I came back to the church, because of just his teachings and things that he said to let me know that he was genuine and honest about how he felt about us as inmates. This wasn't just a job for him. See, they say a lot of the prison and whatnot is about rehabilitation, but it's not. It's just like any drug clinic in the world. You have to have people in the position that want to see you to rehabilitated and able to rehabilitate you. You know what I mean? And they've got too many people in there that just want to get a check. So they don't care about seeing you rehabilitated. That's why you see the recidivism rate is so high, because they're not putting people in the position to really want to help you. He was a person that wanted to help you. You know what I mean? And I appreciate him. You know what I mean? Chaplain Davis, I don't know if you ever see this video, but if you do, Chaplain Davis, I appreciate you. You are a great man. You are highly looked upon amongst inmates that come through the facility where you at. You give us hope, and that hope helped me restore my faith. And my faith is where I'm at right now this day.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that. And like he said, I thank him too, because he would call me and talk to me about chaplain, or either when he would call and say, oh, I went to church. Oh, I had played off with him on the phone, but I get off the phone and it's like, oh, okay. Look, all right, God, I hear you. You working, So that's what I mean when I say sit back and the actions will show up.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. I even remember right before when you were going through the clemency process, you called one day, and I'm thinking he just so mad at God. Like he said, he was pissed off with God. He was mad, and I could tell he was mad, because I couldn't touch it. So I just backed up. But I know that one day through the midst of all that, I got a call on the way to work, and you were like, I could tell he was at his breaking point, just through his voice in the phone. And he was just like, will you pray for me? So that right there let me know, okay, he hadn't given totally up on God, because now he's asking, he's asking me to pray for him over the phone. So that was a sign right there that I need to just keep going, keep continuing to pray for him, pray for the family. And I hope, Wendy, that answered your question about how to incorporate God into your loved one's life. So basically, back up. Yeah, you pray.
Yeah, just
this is a time for you to pray and also focus on you. Yeah, and that'll be another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but then, I don't mean to cut down y'all, but then, ladies, just understand this, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Us guys in there, we're in a fucked up situation. there's nothing good in prison. You know, there's a bunch of different unhidden rules, and it's a certain way you got to carry yourself. So the things that you all may want us to do, you have to understand this. You all don't understand what our day-to-day lives consist of in there. Yeah, we may share some things with you, but we don't share it all because we don't want you all out there worrying about what's going on in here. We need you all focused on what's going on out there. Understand that there's just different factors within the system that are not out here. So your day-to-day routine is not our day-to-day routine. And a lot of people need to know this. Don't think we just sit around all day, because that's not how prison is at all. You know, first and foremost, the most important thing to us is coming out the same way we went in. You know, understand that. Now, our relationships with God, like I said before, is personal. You know, some things we may share with you and some things we may not. You know, it's just a level of what we call vulnerability that we kind of try to keep secluded, for the simple fact that we're just trained like that because of where we're at. And it's not on purpose. It's just how it goes after a certain period of time. And for any of the ones that's out there, I apologize. You know, if certain people may come off the wrong way, it's not intentional. You know, but just understand that this is something that you all have never had to deal with, and we have. And, you know, the way we may express how we're feeling or what we're going through may be different from what you may want to hear, but it's the truth. You know, sometimes take what we're saying and kind of break it down on your own to understand, especially if you know the individual that you're dealing with. Hey, Tamara. Hey, Dr. Rose. How you doing?
All right. And I think that about wraps it up for today. Remember, we're on Sundays at, this is 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find me on YouTube for the Lives of Prison Wives, Instagram for Lives _ Prison Wives. And for those of you on Instagram, Facebook is for the Lives of Prison Wives. Also, website is for the lives of prisonwives.com. Again, that book is Prayers of a Prison Wife. Oh yeah, I was going to share one of those prayers that had to do with faith. And this is 30 prayers, y'all. And you can basically use them as prompts. There are words or lines in here for you to write your own prayers based off of the topics that I have here. And this one is faith. Faith has been one of the most difficult concepts for my husband to grasp because he focuses on the reality of situations. I can see how keeping faith would be extremely difficult in his situation because it's difficult in the free world at times. To know that you have so much time to deal with and not receive any good news along the way about your freedom is enough for the reality of the situation to consume your mind. God, I thank you that my husband has faith in you. I thank you that he doesn't stress over the things he has no control over. Help him to trust that you will fix those situations that are broken. Help him to know that just because he doesn't see immediate results, that you are working things out for his good. Your timing is perfect and your plan is the best plan. Amen. You can pray for anything, and if you have faith, you will receive it. Matthew 21:22.
Before we go, Warrior Woman, I just read your comment. And basically, you're saying, do you think with this coronavirus, they would let our prisoners who have nonviolent charge? I'm obligated to keep it 100 with you. I think it may be a possibility guys in the halfway house, because they're already out, may get released from the halfway house and put on home confinement sooner than later.
I got a few coming out. I have a few in my group that have said they are slowly releasing some. No, FAM has released an article. Some are being released, so I wouldn't just throw in the towel, you know.
I mean, I was just going off without just my experience.
I know. I'll just tell them what I just saw today.
You know, when you're dealing with mass incarceration, they don't like to let a lot of people out with a lot of numbers.
No, they don't.
Even with all the laws that they bring out, they calculate it before they do it to see what their numbers would be.
It's kind of, I think, a day-by-day situation because I've seen it change from not hearing anything. And I actually had a comment today in the group, a post today in the group where a lady was saying that her husband was being released. Oh yeah, so if you are a prison wife and you're not part of For the Lives of Prison Wife Loyal Ladies, that is our support group online. All right, and I think also I mentioned the subscription boxes, and I started these last year, and then getting ready to relaunch those subscription boxes for prison wives. And go to the website, subscribe, so you can receive the updated information about it. All right. I think that's it. So thank y'all for joining us. Remember, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We're taking these questions and we'll talk about them on the next shows. If you're not comfortable in the comments, just inbox us the questions and we'll keep it anonymous. All right. Thanks for joining.
Stay tuned.
Let's see, did we get any other questions? You got all that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all.
Stay tuned, y'all.